89% of global carbon dioxide emissions is directly contributed to the fossil fuel industry. An investigative report recently said that fossil fuel companies like British Petroleum and Chevron have contributed more than 10% of those carbon emissions since when they started pumping this stuff out of the ground. When fossil fuels are burned, they release what is called carbon dioxide. This is a harmful greenhouse gas that is emitted into the air, and this is one of the many gases that is contributing to the acceleration of climate change. This gas specifically contributes not just to overall the acceleration of climate change, but it also impacts your daily life and how you function, to the air that you breathe when you walk out your door, to the type of fuel that you can actually put into your engine, into your car, even down to what is the biodiversity that's being affected around these petroleum plants or where the extraction is actually happened. So overall, it is a huge global biodiversity and also carbon emitting activity. So behind all of these negative impacts that we are seeing in the world today, increasing ocean temperatures, increasing hurricanes, all the negative news that you typically see on your TV or on YouTube or your social media can be theoretically linked back to a fossil fuel company and the exploitative measures that they've been taking over the last years. Now, there are plenty of great YouTube videos highlighting fossil fuel companies and the greenwashing behind fossil fuel companies, but also how they have contributed to the advancing of our economy and woven themselves into this is the business as usual, the status quo, we can't survive without fossil fuels. I'll make sure to link those great videos below in the comments in the section, because I think this will really help you get some good basis on where fossil fuels actually stands within the huge plethora of our companies and the businesses that we operate. But I don't want this video specifically to be about fossil fuels and the exploitative matters that they do, even though they very much do it. Instead, I want to look at this topic through a sustainable marketing lens and how creatives and marketers specifically can help to create a different world where fossil fuels could not exist. And what would that positive, better future look like? I truly believe that if we can visualize this as people, as citizens, that we can operate in a world that is fossil free, it will be better, it'll be cleaner, it'll be more just, it'll be all the beautiful things that we also envision for ourselves, for our families, and for our community. And I think a lot of this is based on having a fossil-free future. So what creatives can do specifically is putting positive, reinforcing imagery, content, and messages into their everyday marketing campaigns that starts to wean us away from the idea that fossil fuels are integrated into our society and that we cannot escape them. This is so extremely powerful and one of the greatest powerful skills that you have as a creative or as a marketer, to harness your creative and strategic mindset and ability and talents to help us visualize what this future will look like. In this video, I want to highlight what our community would potentially look like without fossil fuels. And then I want to briefly talk about the benefits that would come from creating a fossil fuel community. And this is the key question that I want to ask you today, and I hope you give me your responses in the comment below. What would our future look like if we lived in a fossil-free community? What would we feel? Would we be happier? Would we have less cars? Would our communities be safer? What would that community look like when it is fossil-free? So let's get into it. Whether it's a fuel or a feedstock, fossil fuels are integrated everywhere into our daily lives and our business systems. When it's something as abstract as a fossil fuel, like a feedstock, it's hard for everyday citizens and people to really engage with and understand how this far off burning petroleum fossil fuel company is impacting them personally. And Fossil fuels isn't just the resources that you use to warm your house or fuel your petrol car. It's down into everything, even the plastics in your clothing, the plastics in the camera that's recording this, everywhere. Petroleum-based products are everywhere, and they've become so integrated into our society. When we talk about the reality of decoupling ourselves away from fossil fuels and making that positive, greener transition to a better future, there's a lot of anxiety and negativity around it. If you go to Google alone and you just type in, what would a fossil-free future look like? You are bombarded with negative words like the end of the world, destruction, negativity. These are the narratives that us as marketers and communicators can take on as an eco-marketer to start reforming that narrative and changing it overall to be positive. Living a life without fossil fuels is a good thing. These are not the narratives in general that we see when we put this into the Google search to be championing a fossil fuel future. This is the misinformation, the negativity that is pulling back the overall progression of a carbon-free future. And we also have to remember that the people who are most likely in charge of these current narratives are the fossil fuel companies themselves. Again, there's a lot of great content about there, how fossil fuel companies drive misinformation and slow down the climate progression. They are really at the center narrative, and they're the ones that are driving the narrative at the moment. So how can we, better for good marketers, take over that narrative and go in the direction that it really should be going? So what if we made sure as marketing creators, every time we got a brief, every time we developed a new campaign, that we developed that campaign in such a way where it was fossil free? So the campaign helped paint a better life of where we were having a fossil-free community. So are you ready to take on this commitment? Stay tuned. I'm going to give you some quick ways on how to do that. As marketers and creatives, we have a powerful ability to be part of this positive narrative, decouple ourselves away from fossil fuels, and drive that positivity forward. We can ask ourselves this one and key important questions when we're building our campaigns is, overall, how can we encourage citizens, people, communities, cities, nations to wean themselves away from fossil fuel intensive activities and towards positive, planet and people friendly alternatives? So I ran this question by my community and I had a lot of great answers. These are the things that popped up, and it just gives you an idea of how the creative power that can really come in when marketers and creatives put their heads together and come up with positive ideas to change the brief and control that narrative. So when we are working on this narrative on how to decouple ourselves from a fossil-free future, we need to be doing this together collaboratively as a community, which is also why I asked it to my greater LinkedIn community, because it's not just about you yourself as a marketer or the people within your company building this future and what this future would look like. It's a collaborative effort amongst government, citizens, your customers, your consumers, your suppliers, and other marketers. Reach out to your community. Use networks like LinkedIn to engage with them on how that future could possibly look like. Now, when we're creating these campaigns, we have to really think about what are the things that matter most to people. This is a question, again, that you can ask to your community, because you'll get a lot of different and really valuable answers depending on the target audience group that you're talking with. These are things that you need to be championing within your videos. Maybe what's more important to them is walking to the local school with their children so that it's safer and it's greener and these things. So that could be, for example, put into your marketing campaign instead of, for example, dropping off your child in a petroleum-based vehicle. So once you put your creative minds together and you start rethinking how would you actually like to live as a community, and how do the target people that your campaign is for would like to live in a fossil-free community, use those pieces in your brief, in your content creation, into your creative creation process. If you want to have an impact in the climate movement as a marketer and communicator, this is just one of the most easiest and simple things that you can start doing today. One, challenge the brief. When you get the brief, take a look at it. Is it benefiting fossil fuel-based consumption and is it benefiting their agenda? So you're going to switch the brief around. You're going to challenge it. You're going to get pushback. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be a linear growth. But remember that this is the very first step and the most important step for us to get started on becoming an eco-marketer and a more sustainable focused marketer. So in addition to challenging the brief, you can look through your brief and you can start doing simple things like removing any fossil fuel based product or thing in general. Maybe that's petrol cars. Maybe that is plastics, plastic bottles, maybe it's different types of plastics. Really analyze and look at your campaigns and how you're creating that content visually and also written, and where are you just subconsciously putting petroleum-based products into that content. Remove them. Item list it and remove them altogether. And then your last step is you're really going to then take it a step further and you're going to start putting alternatives. What are better, more sustainable, and greener alternatives that you can put into your campaigns? So for example, you could start putting more electric vehicles into your campaigns. You can start having everybody who's in the campaign walking to school having a reusable water bottle. Maybe the backpacks that they're having are not plastic based, maybe they're obviously organic based materials. So really think down to the different materials. It's going to be a super challenge because our world does not operate like this at the certain, but I really encourage you to make this challenge. Think through everything that is within that campaign that is fossil fuel based, and then look for sustainable alternatives. These are really important things to be doing in your campaign so that we can wean ourselves away from the current fossil fuel status quo. People think that fossil fuels will always exist in our life and that they have to exist in our life. This is a negative narrative that in the end, who does it benefit but the fossil fuel companies? So as marketers and creatives, we can start challenging this through our creative talents by simply challenging the brief, looking for ways that we are automatically and subconsciously adding petroleum-based products into our campaigns. Then we can actively show different, greener alternatives. I truly believe that the more that marketers understand how they can easily be part of the climate transition, we will start to see a very positive and accelerated force as eco-marketers within the marketing communication. This is really one of the last important steps for us to make radical and positive climate action. We have the science, we have the tools, we have the technology. Now we need a rapid change in climate communication and how we talk about it. And that's where you as the marketer and creative can really play a powerful part. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please, if you feel inspired, to leave a comment below with a thought and a brainstorm on how do you envision your community looking as fossil free. I have a lot of great video content coming up soon, so please remember to like and subscribe to my channel. Until next time, have a good one. Bye.